PowerPulse Innovations welcomes you to this presentation of our load shedding dashboard software, which decodes data from our remarkable GridGuard unit. What you're seeing right now is a simulation of the concept. This is what Eskom would see with GridGuard installed throughout the country, operational and protecting South Africa's grid from running at dangerously low frequencies. Electricity flows at 50 Hz, 50 cycles per second. Our patented technology trims just enough cycles to stabilize the grid, saving power and preventing load shedding. It does this with unmatched precision. When demand outstrips supply, generators slow down, dropping below 49.8 Hz. The traditional response? Load shedding. Rolling blackouts that cost our economy 4 billion rand per stage, per day. Businesses close. Productivity stops. Lives are disrupted. But what if we could respond instantly, without shedding a single load? GridGuard is an intelligent load management system installed on residential geysers, South Africa's largest discretionary power consumers. Each GridGuard unit monitors grid frequency 50 times per second through the power line itself. No internet required, no communication delays. When frequency drops below 49.8 Hz, GridGuard reduces sufficient power drawn by the geysers within seconds, reducing load on the grid. When frequency stabilizes, power returns automatically. The calculations of the efficacy of GridGuard are based on the assumption that all geysers are 3 kilowatt geysers, and that 60% of those connected to GridGuard are already off at the time that load shedding is necessary. A rule of thumb being that 1 million units will put an end to stage 1 load shedding. This is the GridGuard Executive Dashboard. At the top we see there are 1 million units deployed. These numbers can be adjusted by sliding the Units Deployed button. We can start with 1 million units installed and move that up to 2 million, to 3 million, to 4 million, 5 million, 6 million, and finally 7 million, which would be the ultimate number of installations that would be needed. We can also adjust the target frequency to be reached as well as the electrical shortfall that GridGuard has to absorb. Let's activate a simulation of 7 million and leave the frequency target at 49.8 Hz and the electrical shortfall at 1,000 megawatts. And watch what happens. When the frequency dips below 49.8 Hz, cycle limiting of the first 1 million GridGuard units kick in within 2 seconds at a 10% reduction of power draw, keeping geysers at 90% capacity. This can be seen in the limiting status panel with the first, level 1 at 90%. If the frequency stays low, the next million units join, then the next, up to 7 million. This can be seen as levels 2 to 7 at 90% get highlighted every 2 seconds apart. If 7 million units cutting 10% power from a geyser is not sufficient to lift the frequency above 49.8 Hz, GridGuard dials the first million down to 80%. This can be seen as level 1 at 80%, whilst the rest remain at 90%. If this additional 1 million units operating at 80% still fails to lift the frequency above 49.8 Hz, the next 1 million units drop to 80%, and the frequency target of 49.8 has now been reached as seen on the grid frequency monitor. The reverse takes place when the grid frequency rises above 49.81 Hz. Let's reflect on what we have just seen. 7 million units freeing 8,400 megawatts of capacity, enough to prevent stage 8 load shedding in very close to instant response without any human intervention, and, most importantly, nobody was affected by GridGuard's intervention. So, what is the economic impact? 10.9 million rand per hour in wasted costs. That's fuel costs avoided, infrastructure protected, and most importantly, no disruption to South African businesses and homes. Without GridGuard, generators risk catastrophic failure, as we've seen with overstressed substations. GridGuard's patented technology can save trillions. 2.8 trillion was lost to load shedding in 2023. Here's the article, as seen at IOL. Now compare the cost of installing GridGuard. A one-time installation cost of 12 billion that pays for itself in weeks. Incredibly, that translates to only 48 days of load shedding. Considering that a record 332 days of load shedding took place in 2023, We simply cannot afford not to have GridGuard installed as soon as possible. The GridGuard technology means more than megawatts and RANs. It means a child can study under lights that stay on. A small business owner doesn't lose a day's inventory to a failed refrigerator. A hospital maintains critical equipment without interruption. No backed-up traffic due to widespread traffic light failures. Importantly, uninterrupted power will boost foreign investment, improve credit ratings, Moody's, S&P, Fitch, and attract much-needed international capital. 7 million households. Millions of South Africans. GridGuard. One intelligent automated system working invisibly to keep the power on. GridGuard isn't a future solution. It's an operational reality. The question isn't whether this technology works. The question is, how quickly can we scale it nationwide? PowerPulse Innovations stands ready to partner with Eskom to deploy this system across South Africa. The infrastructure is proven. The savings are measurable. The effect on load shedding will be seen after the first 500,000 installations. Together we can build a grid that's not just reliable, but intelligent. Not just reactive, but preventative. Not just surviving, but thriving. Find out more at powerpulseinnovations.co.za. We hope you found it as exciting watching it as we have in creating it. Thanks for watching.